I thought I would share with you this video footage of introducing my friend's puppy Roma to my dogs at the time as an example of what it looks like when you train dogs how to interact with each other rather than letting them intimidate or bully each other. Check out the description below for an in-depth tutorial on how to introduce dogs. You can teach dogs default behaviors to do in group situations, for example, not going for other dogs' treats when they're getting a treat, or not going and bothering other dogs while they're chewing on bones, eating their food, or getting attention from somebody. You can also teach dogs to leave each other alone when they're playing with toys, as well as rules for how, when, and where to interact and play with each other. Here you can see I have Roma in a leash and a harness, and I'm following her around so she can make choices on a loose leash, but I have the leash and harness there, so if, for example, she got overexcited and wanted to play roughly with my little dogs, or potentially bother two of my border collies that aren't particularly fans of puppies, I could then get her attention and move her away, or simply prevent her from moving forward by shortening the leash so she wouldn't bother my other dogs, and in that way I can prevent my other dogs from having a negative experience.
The way that I like to picture running a multi-dog household is based on dog trainer Madeline Gabriel's description of running a dog and baby household. Many years ago, I was at one of Madeline's seminars, and she was lecturing to families-to-be on how they would teach their dog and their baby to relate to each other in a safe manner. And she had this slide up on the screen, and it was a brilliant slide where the parents were up at the top, and a line was drawn down to the dog, and a line was drawn down to the baby. And in the beginning, when you have your dog and your baby, they're going to be learning how to relate to each other through the parents with guidance from the parents, and not learning from each other or being able to interact with each other. Because what could happen is they could learn really undesirable and unsafe behaviors. So when I saw that slide, my mind was blown, because I was like, oh my goodness, that is exactly how one should think about running a multi-dog household. So in continuation, as the child grows up and the dog learns how to behave around the child, then with guidance from the parents, the dog and the child can start interacting with each other in a safe manner. So in the same situation with a multi-dog household, you can look at that same graphic as that you're the owners up here, and then each of the dogs is below, and at first, before you've done any training, they're going to interact with each other through you and with guidance from you, and learn how to interact with each other with your guidance rather than learn from each other. Then, after time and training, they can be trusted to interact with each other in certain circumstances. The short video clip that I'm going to show you is a great example of this idea of the dogs relating to each other through the human. I'm dropping a piece of food on the floor, and when the food drops, all the dogs look down at the food and then back up at me, where without any training, most likely what would happen is that the dogs, if they were in a group, would start to look at each other and start to try and control each other. Sometimes in a multi-dog household, other dogs will learn very quickly that if they intimidate another dog, they'll get to have whatever it is, whether it's a place to rest, food, or a toy.
After teaching your dogs how to interact using positive reinforcement and management and prevention, you'll notice that the undesirable behaviors will start to go away. So, if you're not using any forms of intimidation to suppress behaviors you don't like, you can then get a good idea how the dogs will act when left alone. I personally like to have my dogs loose together when I'm home and also when I'm gone, so they can make choices throughout the day and enjoy each other. But it's important not to rush things, as well as get help from a professional trainer if you think your dogs might have some sort of conflict if left loose together.